Hi, I'm Tim Campbell of the Free Press Sports staff here at Investors Group Field with my colleague Paul Wiecek. Welcome to the Bombers this week. We're going to talk about the game Friday night upcoming, but first, to set that up, the Bombers are still alive in this playoff race, and they did it by beating the BC Lions last week, turning the tide of that game with special teams. Paul, where did that come from? The Bombers have been terrible at special teams this year.
They absolutely have. First of all, did you get lost on the way to the MTS Center today?
No.
How about the golf course?
I did not.
This is quite a golf hole. What did you shoot this morning?
Golf day.
What did you shoot?
We'll find out later.
Hey, all right. Hey, you're absolutely right. Special teams have been terrible. The Bombers, of course, firing their special teams coordinator about 6 weeks ago. Pat Tracy gets fired. Mike O'Shea takes over. It has been the enigma of this Bomber team all season long. How can it be that a team with a head coach in Mike O'Shea, a GM in Kyle Walters, a CEO in Wade Miller, all guys that special teams were their bread and butter when they played, has been so bad this season. It has cost them innumerable games throughout the season. But with their backs to the wall Saturday night against the BC Lions, down 23-9, special teams, talk about rising to the occasion. They blocked 2 punts, 2 key fake punts, including one on 3rd and 10 with about 4 minutes left, that sets up the game tying touchdown by Clarence Denmark. And then, of course, how about the performance by the Bomber place kicker?
5 for 5.
Unbelievable. In his first CFL game, Sergio Castillo goes 5 for 5, including a 41-yarder as time runs out to win the game. Maybe they're just slow learners, but they figured it out when it mattered. The Bombers live and breathe for at least one more week at 5-10.
Is a repeat of that special teams performance realistic this week?
Yeah, you know, I mean, that's tough, right? They do that against the BC Lions team that is 5-9. Now they're going into Ottawa, an 8-6 Redblacks team. It has proven very, very difficult for visiting teams to play in that stadium. The Ottawa Redblacks have support in the nation's capital like the Ottawa Renegades and the Ottawa Rough Riders never did. That is a very hostile place to play. You know, it's a whole different situation trying to take on this team in that stadium than it was BC in cavernous BC place. They can't draw flies in that place right now. It's unbelievable. The other thing is, hey, it's great if you got good special teams, but the Ottawa offense led by Henry Burris, who had a historic performance a couple of weeks ago, 41 completions. This Bomber defense is going to have to rise to the occasion, otherwise it's not going to matter what the special teams do. And then, of course, a league worst Bomber offense. You know, you can't win unless you put at least 1 point on the board. You know, they've struggled. Obviously, they need to rise to the occasion. If you're looking for some hope, let's remember this was a pretty good Bomber offense in the second half against the Edmonton Eskimos. They end up losing that game. Liram Hairolau goes 1 for 5, and that leads to the change to Sergio Castillo at place kicker. If we can see more of that offense and less of the stumbling and bumbling that we saw in BC, I think they got a shot.
So the playoff conversation is ongoing. You've been talking about how there are 4 quite bad teams in the CFL, and one of them is going to make the playoffs. The Bombers are still in the conversation. Do you think they have some momentum out of the BC game, or was it just a one-off because the blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while? You know, it's such a strange CFL season in that we're talking about a 5-10 Bombers team that if the season ended today, the Bombers would be in the playoffs at 5-10. It is very bizarre. You've got 4 lousy teams in the CFL this season. The Saskatchewan Roughriders already eliminated. The Montreal Alouettes got a little better today at the trade deadline. They trade a 5th-round draft pick for Kevin Glenn. That's going to help, but that's still not a very good Alouettes team. The Lions, of course, just lost to the Bombers. The Lions have lost twice to the Bombers this season. Tells you everything you need to know about the BC Lions. So the least lousy of those 4 teams is going to make the CFL playoffs this year, and as of right now, it's the Bombers. They got to get better, though. Here's a set of stats for you. The Bombers are 5-2 this season against sub-500 teams. The Bombers are 0-8 against teams above 500. Guess what? Their last 3 remaining games are against that latter category. They got back-to-back against Ottawa, and then they close up the season against the Toronto Argonauts. This team is going to make the playoffs. They're going to have to do something in the last month of the season that they haven't been able to do all year long, and that's beat winning football teams. There's this week's setup. Please stay tuned to all our coverage on WinnipegFreePress.com and the Winnipeg Free Press.